The Zoltrian Empire had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity could comprehend. Warships powered by artificial intelligence, towering robots with unmatched strength, and cloaking technology that made their fleets nearly invisible to anyone else, these were just some of the advantages they had. The Zoltrians had crushed countless civilizations in their path, and to them, Earth was just another insignificant planet, a blip in the vastness of the universe. Humans were primitive, easily conquered, and no match for the Zoltrian might. But the Zoltrians had never encountered anything like Earth, or its people. The Empire's pride was their downfall. It was a day like any other on Earth. Cities bustled with the noise of everyday life, people going to work, children playing in the streets, and the quiet hum of traffic moving through the roads. Then, without warning, the skies changed. A strange, unnatural calm filled the air. Suddenly, the skies above Earth erupted as massive ships, cloaked until that very moment, became visible, appearing as dark shadows against the sun. They were warships, hundreds of them, the likes of which Earth had never seen. The entire planet trembled. The Zoltrians had arrived. Their fleet hovered above Earth, blocking out the sunlight. No one knew what was coming, but they knew one thing: the Earth was in grave danger. The Zoltrians had been watching Earth for years, observing, studying. They saw the humans as weak, fragmented, and technologically inferior. The Earth's military could hardly defend against a well-equipped alien force, let alone something of this scale. The invasion was swift, and the people of Earth had no idea how to fight back against the overwhelming might of their enemies. It was as if a nightmare had come to life, but there was no waking up. On Earth, the world's leaders scrambled to understand the magnitude of the attack. They activated their defense systems, missiles, fighters, and orbital platforms, yet nothing seemed to work. The Zoltrians were too powerful. Their weapons, capable of destroying cities with a single shot, rained down on Earth. Lasers pierced through buildings, sending plumes of smoke and debris into the air. Humans watched helplessly as their cities burned. In the midst of the chaos, one name stood out: Captain Jake Carter, the leader of Earth's last line of defense. He had spent his career preparing for such an invasion, but even he had never imagined something like this. His entire life had been dedicated to protecting humanity, but now, standing in the command center with his team, Jake knew they were fighting an uphill battle. Earth's best technologies were no match for the Zoltrians. Their warships could cloak, making them nearly invisible to Earth's radars, and their robotic soldiers were relentless. It felt like the end. As the countdown to Earth's annihilation ticked down, Jake's mind raced. He had always been prepared for every scenario, every battle plan, every strategy. But now, with Earth's future on the line, there was only one choice left: Project Phoenix. This was the humans' last chance. Jake stood at the control panel, sweat running down his face, staring at the flashing red lights of the countdown. He turned to his team. His expression was grave, but there was determination in his eyes. "Activate Project Phoenix," he ordered, his voice unwavering. Project Phoenix wasn't just a weapon, it was humanity's greatest hope. It was a top-secret AI prototype, created in response to the overwhelming alien threat. Unlike the Zoltrians' AI systems, Project Phoenix was designed to adapt, to learn, to evolve. The hope was that it would be able to infiltrate the Zoltrian warships, hack their systems, and turn the tide of the battle. Jake's team had been working on this project for years, and now, it was humanity's final hope. But Project Phoenix was still experimental, and no one knew how well it would work under pressure. Jake had no choice but to trust that the AI would be able to handle the impossible odds stacked against them. As Jake stood there, waiting for the system to engage, there was a moment of silence. The reality of what was happening finally hit him. His younger brother, Bonner, was one of the soldiers preparing to fight on the front lines. Bonner had been by his side for years, and the two had fought together through countless battles. But this was different. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was the fight for Earth's survival. Jake turned to his brother, who was preparing for the worst. They exchanged a look that conveyed everything words couldn't express. Bonner's eyes were filled with the same fire that had always been there, but there was something else, too, fear. Fear that they might not make it out alive. "We're going to make it," Jake said, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. Bonner nodded, but his eyes betrayed him. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes," he said, his voice steady. "We'll protect Earth, no matter the cost." The weight of their mission hung heavily between them. Bonner turned and walked away, his figure disappearing into the chaos of preparations. Jake watched him go, feeling a lump form in his throat. The bond they shared was unbreakable. But now, as the invasion loomed, the reality was clear. Their fates, and the fate of humanity, were uncertain. The atmosphere was tense. The Zoltrians were moments away from launching their final assault. Jake had no time left. He needed to trust in Project Phoenix, and he needed it to work. As the final seconds of Earth's countdown ticked away, he watched the monitors, his heart racing. 5 minutes, the voice on the intercom announced, breaking the silence. Jake took a deep breath, focusing all his attention on the control panel. His hands shook, but he didn't allow himself to show any weakness. His team was counting on him, the world was counting on him. He turned to his lieutenant, Emma, who was overseeing the AI activation. "Is Phoenix ready?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Emma glanced up, her face tight with worry, but she nodded. "Ready, sir. But we're not sure if it'll work. The Zoltrians have never faced anything like it." Jake's mind raced. The AI had to work. There was no other choice. He looked at the monitors, watching the Zoltrian ships loom ever closer. Their fleet was massive, overwhelming. But Earth had one advantage the aliens didn't expect: human resilience. Just as the countdown reached its final minute, the monitors flickered, and then, Project Phoenix activated. Jake felt a surge of hope. This was humanity's last chance. The tension in the room was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. The massive warships of the Zoltrians slowly moved into position, preparing to strike Earth with devastating force. The countdown was down to its final few seconds. But the human resistance wasn't finished. As Jake looked at the screen, a surge of energy filled the room. Project Phoenix had connected to the alien fleet, its AI infiltrating their systems, trying to gain control. "We're not done yet," Jake muttered, his eyes never leaving the monitor. The clock ticked down, but Earth's defense systems were about to get the boost they so desperately needed. With Earth hanging on by a thread, the real fight was just beginning. The Zoltrian fleet hung ominously in Earth's sky, like a dark cloud blotting out the sun. 100 massive warships, sleek and menacing, hovered above the planet, their cloaking devices shimmering, barely visible to Earth scanners. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, alien creations of unimaginable power. The entire Earth trembled, knowing that at any moment, the assault would begin. The Zoltrians had come to claim their latest conquest, and they weren't going to stop until they had wiped out every last human. But Captain Jake Carter wasn't ready to give up. Not without a fight. As Earth's defense leader, he had spent years preparing for this day, never truly believing the Zoltrians would come. But now, the time for preparation was over. The war was here. Jake had just activated Project Phoenix, Earth's last-ditch AI system designed to counter the alien threat. The AI had managed to infiltrate the Zoltrian warships, and now it was working to turn their own technology against them. But it was still too early to tell if the AI would be able to overcome the alien force. As Jake stood in the command center, looking out over the chaos unfolding, he felt the weight of the moment. The fate of the world rested on his shoulders, and yet, the battle was far from won. The Zoltrians made the first move. Their warships unleashed devastating blasts, raining down laser fire on Earth's major cities. The ground shook as explosions filled the air, and the sky was painted with the fiery glow of destruction. People scrambled for shelter, unable to comprehend the scale of the attack. In a matter of minutes, Earth's most advanced defense systems were overwhelmed. But Earth wasn't done fighting. Jake Carter knew this battle was far from over. From the command center, he activated the counterattack. He watched the monitors intently as Earth's military forces began their desperate defense. Humanity's forces, though outmatched in numbers, were equipped with high-tech weaponry and stealth technology. Using cloaking devices, human warships became nearly invisible to the Zoltrians. The drone fighters, powered by cutting-edge AI systems, shot across the sky at breakneck speeds, dodging blasts and returning fire. Earth's ships were agile, their crew trained for precision strikes, and they were determined to give the Zoltrians a fight they wouldn't soon forget. As the first human ship launched from the atmosphere, the battle reached its peak. The human fleet fought fiercely, dodging enemy fire while trying to land shots on the much larger, heavily armored Zoltrian vessels. A pulse of laser fire hit one of the alien ships, and for the briefest moment, it flickered and faded. The human defenders had struck a blow, but not enough to win the war. The clash of titans continued above Earth as the warships twisted and turned in space. Human ships, smaller but faster, darted between the larger Zoltrian ships. They used the Zoltrian warship's size against them, swooping in and out of firing range, launching high-speed missiles and laser shots. The air in the command center crackled with tension as Jake watched the action unfold, his eyes locked on the monitors, hoping for some miracle. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the sky. One of the human warships had taken a direct hit from a Zoltrian blast. The ship was ripped apart, its glowing hull disintegrating into pieces that scattered across space. Jake's heart sank. Each loss made the battle harder to win. But Earth's forces weren't backing down. With each explosion and each passing second, they grew more determined. They had no choice but to fight. There was no other way. If they gave up now, the Zoltrians would destroy everything. In a flash, Jake's communicator buzzed. "Captain, we've detected a large cluster of enemy ships on a direct path toward our fleet. They're launching another offensive," came the voice of his lieutenant, Emma. "We need more time, Project Phoenix isn't fully operational yet." Jake clenched his fists. He couldn't afford to lose any more ships. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "We need to buy more time for Phoenix. We can't let them get any closer." With a deep breath, Jake turned his attention back to the battlefield. His fingers moved quickly across the command panel as he coordinated the cloaking maneuvers. The human fleet scattered, slipping in and out of visibility as the Zoltrians fired blindly, trying to catch the elusive ships. But there was no time to rest. Every moment counted. And as the tension escalated, something unexpected happened. The battle raged on, and Earth's forces were on the edge of defeat. Jake's brother, Bonner, was leading a strike team on one of the frontline ships. Bonner was an elite soldier, one of the best fighters humanity had ever seen. He had always been the brave one, the one who never hesitated to throw himself into the heart of danger. And now, he was risking everything to save Earth. Jake watched the monitors closely. His brother's ship was dangerously close to a Zoltrian warship, and it looked like it was surrounded. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. "Bonner, get out of there!" Jake shouted, his voice strained with fear. But the communication channel was silent. Bonner was too far in, too deep within the chaos. Then, just as the Zoltrians prepared to fire on Bonner's ship, something incredible happened. Bonner's ship charged toward the enemy, cloaking itself at the last moment. The ship, invisible to the Zoltrians, fired at a cluster of enemy fighters, knocking them out of the sky. But it was a desperate move, one that would cost Bonner his life. As the Zoltrian blast hit Bonner's ship, the entire vessel erupted in flames. The explosion was so massive that it lit up the sky, a final flash of light in the darkness of space. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The human fleet watched in silence, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Jake stood frozen in disbelief. His heart broke as he realized that his brother was gone. Bonner had given his life to protect the team, to save humanity from the overwhelming alien forces. His sacrifice had bought Earth a little more time, but at what cost? Jake's mind raced as the memories of his brother's sacrifice flashed before his eyes. The grief was overwhelming, but there was no time to mourn. Jake knew what he had to do. The Zoltrians had taken his brother from him, and now they would pay. For Bonner, Jake whispered under his breath. The words were a vow. A promise. A promise that the Zoltrians would never get away with this. He would not rest until every last one of them had been brought to their knees. Jake's resolve hardened. His desire for revenge burned hotter than ever. Earth's forces would rally, and they would fight for everything. They would fight for Bonner, for their homes, for their future. As the battle continued, Earth's forces rallied. Despite the loss of Bonner, the remaining soldiers fought harder than ever. They would avenge him. They would push back the alien invaders. But the scale of the threat still loomed large. The Zoltrian fleet was still massive, their ships intimidating, and their weapons powerful. One by one, the human ships went down. The orbital bombardment from the Zoltrians continued to devastate Earth's cities. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, humanity fought on. Each strike, each shot fired, brought them closer to the final moment of truth. The sky above Earth seemed to tear open as the full scale of the alien fleet was revealed. The size of the threat was staggering. Hundreds of ships, armed with weapons capable of destroying entire cities, filled the horizon. It was a terrifying sight, one that made even the bravest hearts falter. But the humans had something the Zoltrians could never understand, the will to survive. As Jake watched his soldiers fight back against the overwhelming force, he knew one thing for certain: humanity's struggle was just beginning. And no matter the cost, they would not give up. They couldn't. The battle was far from over, but Earth's defenders had one thing on their side: their unwavering will to survive. The war for humanity's future had begun, and there would be no turning back. The situation on Earth had reached its breaking point. Despite the desperate counterattacks from humanity's fleet, the overwhelming strength of the Zoltrian invasion had pushed Earth's defenses to the brink of collapse. The alien warships, with their superior technology, seemed invincible. Each time a human ship struck one down, another would take its place, faster and stronger, tearing through Earth's defenses like a predator hunting its prey. Captain Jake Carter was fighting with everything he had. The loss of his brother Bonner had shaken him to the core, but it had also made him more determined than ever. The final line of defense had been breached, and Earth's hope was quickly fading. But deep in the heart of Earth's military command, a secret weapon, one that could change the tide of the war, was waiting to be unleashed. Jake stood in the command center, the air thick with the tension of imminent defeat. His eyes scanned the monitors, watching as the Zoltrians launched their next wave of attack. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded the Earth, their weapons ready to fire, and their cloaking technology making them nearly invisible. Jake knew that without something drastic, Earth was finished. That's when he made the decision. It was time to activate Project Phoenix, humanity's last hope. Jake's fingers flew across the control panel. The AI system, a project humanity had been working on for years, had been kept a secret from the public. It was designed specifically to fight back against advanced alien technology like that of the Zoltrians. Project Phoenix was more than just a weapon, it was an intelligent, autonomous system capable of hacking into alien fleets, disabling their technology, and turning the tide of battle. With a single command, Jake initiated the sequence. He watched as the lights in the command center flickered and the computer screens hummed with activity. For a moment, there was nothing. The battle outside continued to rage, and the humans seemed outmatched. But then, a signal flashed on the screen. Project Phoenix had connected to the Zoltrian fleet systems. The AI worked at lightning speed, infiltrating the enemy's warships and disabling their cloaking devices. The Zoltrian ships, which had once appeared invisible to Earth's forces, now shimmered into view. It was a game changer. For the first time, the humans could see their enemy. But it didn't stop there. Project Phoenix began disabling the Zoltrian weapons, shutting down their laser cannons, missile systems, and even their drone fighters. What was once an unstoppable force was now a vulnerable fleet, their most powerful weapons useless. Jake's heart pounded as he watched the chaos unfold on the screens. The Zoltrians were scrambling, their ships firing wildly as their technology failed them. It was the first victory humanity had seen in this battle, and it was a victory made possible by the very technology the aliens had underestimated. As the last of the Zoltrian cloaking devices flickered off, the fleet of once imposing warships appeared in full view. The Zoltrians, caught completely off guard, began to panic. They had always seen themselves as the dominant force in the galaxy, their technology unmatched by any other species. The humans, in their eyes, were primitive and weak, no match for the mighty Zoltrian Empire. But now, they were faced with a shocking reality: the humans were not as weak as they had believed. The Zoltrians' fleet was in disarray, their once dominant advantage shattered by the power of Project Phoenix. Jake watched as the first human warship launched a missile, striking a Zoltrian vessel directly. The explosion rocked the alien ship, sending debris flying into space. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for, the moment when the tide of the battle had turned. The Zoltrians had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they were feeling the consequences. But it wasn't enough yet. The Zoltrians were quick to regroup, and it became clear that the Zoltrian leadership was now taking the humans seriously. They would not go down without a fight. As the battle raged on, Jake found himself torn between two overwhelming emotions. On one hand, he wanted nothing more than to watch the Zoltrians suffer for everything they had done. His brother's death had ignited a fire in him, and he longed for revenge. Every time a human ship struck down an alien vessel, it felt like a small victory for his brother's memory. But on the other hand, Jake knew that revenge couldn't be the only motivation for his actions. There were thousands of lives at stake: soldiers, civilians, innocent people who hadn't asked for this war. Jake had to consider what was best for the future of humanity. He couldn't afford to let his emotions cloud his judgment. As the Project Phoenix AI continued to disable the Zoltrian fleet, Jake faced the overwhelming weight of his decisions. If they won, humanity would survive, but if they lost, everything would be gone: his brother's sacrifice, the lives of every soldier, the future of Earth. His desire for vengeance battled with the responsibility he felt to protect as many people as possible. Jake was the leader now. It was his job to make sure the fight didn't destroy everything they were fighting for. But deep inside, his heart still burned with the need for justice, for his brother, and for every person the Zoltrians had hurt. The Zoltrians weren't about to let their technology be outdone by humans. The Project Phoenix AI had disabled their most powerful systems, but the Zoltrians were not as easily defeated. They had something else up their sleeve, a secret weapon that they had been keeping hidden, just for this moment. The Zoltrian fleet launched a new wave of fighters, AI-enhanced warriors, machines unlike anything humanity had ever seen. These warriors were designed to be faster, stronger, and more intelligent than anything the humans could counter. They were the next step in artificial intelligence, an evolution that had surpassed even the capabilities of Project Phoenix. The battle turned into a deadly game of cat and mouse as the humans scrambled to counter the new threat. The AI-enhanced warriors were faster than the human fighters, able to outmaneuver them with ease. Each one seemed to have a mind of its own, anticipating the humans' moves and countering them before they could strike. The air in the command center grew thick with tension as Jake watched the battle unfold. He knew that if they didn't find a way to deal with these new AI warriors, all of humanity would fall. The stakes had just gotten higher. Project Phoenix, though powerful, was struggling to keep up with the Zoltrians' new weapon. The humans were fighting back with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. They needed something more. Jake felt the weight of the moment press down on him. Every move mattered. If they lost this fight, it wouldn't just be the end of Earth, it would be the end of everything humanity had fought for. The fight for survival had become even more deadly, and now it was a race against time. As the battle raged on, Earth's forces pushed back with everything they had. The fight for survival was no longer just about defeating the Zoltrians, it was about keeping hope alive. The enemy had thrown everything at them, and humanity had only one chance to win. The key to their survival lay in Project Phoenix, the AI that had already proven it could take down the Zoltrians' advanced systems. If they could adapt it, improve it, and find a way to use it against the new AI-enhanced warriors, they might stand a chance. Jake knew that there was no room for mistakes. The future of humanity depended on their next move. As the battle continued to rage, the final act of this war was about to unfold, one that would decide the fate of Earth and the galaxy itself. As the battle continued to rage in space, Earth's defenses were on the edge of collapse. Humanity had managed to hold off the Zoltrian fleet for a while, thanks to Project Phoenix and the desperate efforts of Earth's military, but the Zoltrians were not finished yet. They had launched wave after wave of AI-enhanced warriors, overwhelming humanity's forces in space. It became clear, Earth's last hope rested in taking the fight to the Zoltrians directly, infiltrating their ships and destroying their command from within. Jake Carter and his team were about to embark on the most dangerous mission of their lives. They had to get to the heart of the Zoltrian fleet, a massive warship that was not only a fortress but also the center of the Zoltrian Empire's military command. This was where the Zoltrian Emperor, Lord Korath, sat at the helm of the invasion, and if they could destroy him, they could potentially end the war. But getting to him would not be easy. With Project Phoenix at their side, Earth's forces had gained some ground, but the Zoltrians had fought back harder than ever, adapting to every move humanity made. Jake knew that Earth's success in this battle wouldn't be determined by sheer power alone, it would be a battle of human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and willpower. The mission was clear: infiltrate the Zoltrian warship and disable its core systems. Jake led a small team of elite soldiers, each one equipped with high-tech weapons and armor. But the weapons and tech were only part of the equation. The team would need to rely on their combat skills and quick thinking if they were to survive the chaotic, close-quarters battles waiting for them inside the warship. The team entered the Zoltrian warship through a hidden airlock, bypassing the heavily guarded main entrances. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The hallways were narrow, dark, and claustrophobic, filled with twists and turns that led to enemy-controlled sectors. Every step felt like it could be their last. The Zoltrian soldiers, though powerful, were not prepared for the resourcefulness of human soldiers. As Jake's team made their way through the labyrinth of the warship, they encountered wave after wave of Zoltrian robots and alien soldiers, all heavily armored and armed with advanced weaponry. But the humans did not falter. Using the environment to their advantage, they fought their way through, using everything from advanced blasters to hand-to-hand combat. One by one, Jake and his team took down the enemies, never stopping to catch their breath. Each hallway was a battlefield, each corner a potential trap. The Zoltrians had underestimated the humans, assuming that their advanced technology would always give them the upper hand. What they didn't understand was that humans were survivors, and survival meant using their wits, their creativity, and their determination to overcome impossible odds. The closer they got to the heart of the warship, the fiercer the resistance became. The Zoltrians were not going to let them get close to the command center without a fight. Explosions rocked the walls, and the sound of gunfire echoed through the narrow corridors. Jake's team was pushed to their limits, but they fought on, never losing sight of their goal. Even as the Zoltrians unleashed wave after wave of their most advanced weapons, the human soldiers found ways to outsmart them. The Zoltrian robots were formidable, but they were also predictable. Jake's team used the ship's own systems against them, hacking into security terminals and using the ship's sensors to set traps for the enemy. In one daring move, Jake's squad turned the warship's own defense lasers against the approaching Zoltrian soldiers. By rerouting the ship's power supply, they managed to create a temporary power surge that overloaded the enemy's defenses. The Zoltrians were stunned. What they had thought were well-planned defenses suddenly became their biggest weakness. The humans had outwitted them, using their limited resources in ways the Zoltrians had never considered. At one point, Jake had to make a quick decision. The team was cornered by a group of elite Zoltrian fighters, heavily armored and equipped with plasma rifles. The odds were stacked against them. But Jake saw an opportunity. He noticed an access hatch on the floor, leading into the ship's lower levels. Without hesitation, he ordered his team to split up and create a distraction. The plan worked. As the Zoltrians focused on the decoy team, Jake and his squad slipped into the hatch and made their way deeper into the warship. Despite being technologically outmatched, the humans had something the Zoltrians did not, the ability to think on their feet and adapt to any situation. Every turn, every encounter was a battle of willpower. The Zoltrians thought the humans were only surviving, not fighting back, but they were wrong. They were fighting for their future, and that made them far more dangerous than the Zoltrians could ever have imagined. At last, after what seemed like an eternity, Jake and his team reached the command center of the warship. The room was massive, filled with holographic displays and control panels that pulsed with energy. And there, standing at the far end of the room, was Lord Korath, the Emperor of the Zoltrian Empire. His towering figure, clad in shimmering armor, was surrounded by his elite guards. He had been waiting for this moment, prepared for the inevitable clash. The two forces faced off in a tense standoff. Jake Carter and Lord Korath locked eyes. Korath sneered, confident in his superiority, but Jake wasn't intimidated. He had come this far. For his brother, for humanity, he would see this battle through to the end. Korath raised his plasma sword, charging at Jake with the full force of the Zoltrian Empire's might. But Jake was ready. With a swift move, he dodged the Emperor's blow, countering with a series of punches and kicks that were fast and precise. Despite the Zoltrian's superior size and strength, Jake used his agility in combat training to stay one step ahead. The battle between the two was brutal, filled with vicious strikes and close-quarters combat. Every move was a gamble, each one pushing Jake to his limits. The Zoltrian Emperor was not an easy opponent. He was a skilled fighter, his movements fast and deadly. But Jake had something that Korath did not, the will to fight for his people. As they clashed, the warship trembled, and the sound of explosions echoed in the distance. Jake's team had done their part, disabling the ship's outer defenses and setting up the final assault. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, depended on Jake's ability to defeat Korath and stop the invasion once and for all. With a final, desperate move, Jake disarmed Korath, knocking the Emperor to the ground. The Zoltrian leader lay defeated, his armor shattered, his strength gone. The battle was over. Lord Korath had fallen, and with him, the Zoltrian Empire's reign of terror. As the dust settled, Jake stood victorious, panting heavily, his body battered but resolute. The warship's command center was now under human control. The Zoltrian forces, leaderless and in disarray, were no longer a threat. Jake's mission had succeeded. Humanity had defeated the seemingly unbeatable Zoltrian Empire. They had used their ingenuity, resilience, and courage to overcome an enemy that had once thought them weak. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when the underdogs rose up and proved that even the mightiest empire could fall. As Jake looked around the warship, his team battered but standing tall, he knew the battle wasn't over yet. There would be more challenges ahead, but humanity had proven that they could face any threat, no matter how powerful. And with that, the last assault was over, and Earth's survival was guaranteed. The war was finally over. The Zoltrian fleet, now leaderless and scattered, began to fall apart. The humanity's victory was hard-earned, but it came with a heavy price. The mighty Zoltrian Empire, which had once believed itself invincible, was now crumbling, its warships disabled, its emperor fallen. But this victory did not come without sacrifice. Earth's cities were in ruins, and many brave soldiers had laid down their lives to secure this hard-fought win. Jake Carter stood among the ruins of his own planet, the weight of the battles cost heavy on his shoulders. His team had pushed forward, defeating the Zoltrians at their own doorstep, but the path to victory had not been easy. Thousands of lives had been lost in the fight, including Jake's brother, Bonner, who had fought valiantly but never made it out of the war alive. As Earth's battered survivors began the long process of rebuilding, Jake found himself standing in front of a memorial erected for the fallen. The names of the brave souls who had given their all were etched in stone, their faces forever frozen in time. Among those names, the face of Bonner stood out the most, his brother, his comrade, who had stood by him through every battle. The pain of losing him, of knowing that he would never see his brother's smile again, weighed heavily on Jake's heart. But Bonner's sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had won, and the Zoltrians would never again underestimate the strength and determination of the human race. The memorial was quiet, save for the soft hum of distant machinery as the cities began to rebuild. Jake placed his hand on the cold stone, closing his eyes for a moment of silence. His mind drifted back to the battle, the close calls, the danger, the sheer chaos of it all. He remembered the final moments of combat, the fight to take down Lord Korath, and the struggle to keep his team alive amidst the madness. The victory they had secured was hard-won, but Jake knew that it was only the beginning. As Earth's forces celebrated the fall of the Zoltrians, the galaxy trembled with the echoes of that victory. For centuries, the Zoltrian Empire had ruled with an iron fist, their advanced technology and ruthless tactics unmatched by any other civilization. But now, that empire lay in ruins, its once proud fleet reduced to scraps. And in the wake of the Zoltrians' collapse, a new question began to take shape in the minds of the galaxy's other species: what would come next? Humanity had proven itself as a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy was now watching to see what Earth would do with its newfound power. The war was over, but the aftermath had only just begun. The victory was bittersweet. Earth had lost so much in the struggle, cities were leveled, and families were torn apart. The scars of war would not fade quickly, and it would take years, perhaps decades, to fully rebuild what had been lost. But Jake knew that they had to move forward. The Zoltrian fleet was gone, but the Zoltrian ideals, their empire of conquest and their belief in their own superiority, still lingered. There were other empires, other threats in the galaxy, and Earth would have to be ready to face them. The galaxy had just learned that humans would never bow down, that they would fight for their survival, no matter the odds. As Jake stood at the memorial, the reality of the new world began to settle in. The humans had won, but it was a victory marked by loss. There would be no true peace until the galaxy fully understood that humanity was not to be underestimated. The fight was over, but the battle for humanity's future was far from won. The visual of the Zoltrian flagship disintegrating under the force of Earth's final strike remained etched in the minds of all who had witnessed it. The orbital strike, which had launched the decisive blow, had been humanity's final weapon in their struggle for survival. It had been a massive, coordinated attack, a last-ditch effort to finish what they had started. The flagship, once the symbol of Zoltrian power and dominance, had been reduced to a twisted mass of burning debris, falling into the depths of space like a dying star. The destruction of the Zoltrian flagship was not just the end of their war machine, it was the end of an era. For centuries, the Zoltrians had ruled the galaxy with cruelty, and their destruction marked the fall of their empire. But in the ashes of the old, something new was beginning. The rise of humanity had begun, and the galaxy was watching with wary eyes. As the flagship crumbled in space, the human forces on the ground began their long and difficult task of rebuilding. Earth's cities were in ruins, but the spirit of humanity remained unbroken. The people who had survived the battle began the painful process of healing, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. They had lost so much, but they had also gained a future. The war was over, and humanity had won. But the true test was what they would do next. Jake knew that humanity's journey was far from over. The victory over the Zoltrians had proven that humans could survive against impossible odds, but it had also shown that the galaxy was not a safe place. The Zoltrians were gone, but there were many other threats out there, alien empires, rogue AI, and countless dangers that humanity had yet to face. But Jake also knew that humanity had something the Zoltrians had never understood: resilience. The humans had fought for their freedom, for their homes, for the ones they loved. And that was a power no alien empire could ever defeat. As the memorial grew quiet, Jake made a silent vow to the fallen, especially to Bonner. Humanity would rise, no matter what came next. Earth would rebuild, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans would never back down. Their victory over the Zoltrians was just the beginning. The galaxy trembled, but humanity's roar was just starting to be heard. The rise of humanity in the galaxy had begun, and the echoes of that victory would be felt for generations to come. The world had changed forever, and in the end, humanity had proven that no empire, no matter how mighty, could ever take Earth down. And as the rebuilding continued, the survivors of the war, led by Jake and those who had fought beside him, would forge a new destiny for humanity, a destiny where they were no longer the underdogs, but a power to be reckoned with in the galaxy. The war was over, but the true journey for humanity was just beginning. The Zoltrian Empire, once a dominant force in the galaxy, had crumbled under the might and ingenuity of Earth's defenders. After the brutal battle, with millions of lives lost, Earth now stood as the beacon of hope in a galaxy that had long underestimated its power. As the dust settled and the fires of battle faded, the leaders of Earth began to rebuild, not just their cities, but also their place in the galaxy. The victory over the Zoltrians was only the first step in a much larger mission. The war had shown that humanity, when pushed to its limits, could rise up and defeat even the most advanced alien forces. The world, shattered by war, was ready to heal, but more importantly, Earth was ready to forge a new path in the cosmos. The human resistance, once thought of as a mere nuisance by the Zoltrians, had now become the galaxy's most formidable force. Humanity had faced unimaginable odds and emerged victorious, but the cost had been high. The scars of war marked every corner of Earth. The cities that had been destroyed were now in the process of rebuilding, but many families still mourned the loss of loved ones, including soldiers who had given everything for this victory. Despite the immense grief and hardship, there was a sense of renewed hope, a feeling that Earth had overcome something unimaginable. Jake Carter, the reluctant hero, stood tall amidst the rubble of the war, leading his people forward. The leaders of Earth, recognizing the need for unity to prevent further invasions, came together to establish a galactic alliance. The war had proven that humanity could no longer afford to stay isolated from the larger galactic community. The alliance was not just a diplomatic agreement, it was a powerful coalition of different worlds, united under the banner of peace and mutual protection. Humanity's influence had grown exponentially in the aftermath of the war, and Earth now found itself at the center of this new order. However, the journey ahead was not without its challenges. As the newly formed alliance worked toward stability and peace, Jake received a mysterious transmission from a distant corner of the galaxy. The signal was weak, the message fragmented, but the meaning was clear: a new, even greater threat was approaching. This unknown danger would require all the strength and ingenuity humanity had gained in the past war, and more. Jake stared at the message, his heart heavy with the knowledge that their battle for survival was far from over. The war with the Zoltrians had ended, but this new threat loomed like a shadow over everything. Humanity had always known the harsh truth: peace was temporary, and in a galaxy filled with ancient empires, unknown horrors, and the remnants of past wars, peace could never last forever. The threat that now approached was something unlike anything humanity had faced before. Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of unease deep in his chest. The galaxy had always been a vast and mysterious place, and after the victory over the Zoltrians, Jake realized that Earth was still a small part of something much larger and far more dangerous. But with that unease came something else: hope. Humanity had proven itself capable of unimaginable resilience, of fighting back against even the most impossible odds. The events of the past few years had forged a new spirit in the people of Earth. They had faced annihilation and come out victorious. Now, they would face whatever new challenges arose, together, as a united force. As Jake looked toward the stars, he couldn't shake the feeling that something greater awaited. The universe was full of mysteries, dangers, and possibilities. There was no telling what the future would hold, but one thing was certain: humanity was no longer a fragile species on the brink of extinction. They had become a force to be reckoned with. The camera pulled back, revealing a galaxy full of possibilities, stretching out as far as the eye could see. Earth, once a humble and insignificant planet in the vastness of space, now stood tall as a symbol of strength and resilience. The devastation of the Zoltrian invasion still hung over the world, but humanity had emerged from the flames stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever came next. The Galactic Alliance, forged in the fires of war, had brought together the most powerful and diverse civilizations. Earth had earned its place among them, and the weight of that responsibility was not lost on its leaders. Humanity was no longer an underdog. They were the victors. The galaxy had seen their strength, their determination, and their unwavering will to survive. But as Earth basked in its newfound position, a darker, more dangerous future began to unfold in the distance. The mysterious transmission Jake had received was only the beginning. The greater threat was still out there, and humanity had yet to fully comprehend the depth of what it was about to face. It was a chilling thought, but it was one Jake could not ignore. He had already lost so much: his brother, countless friends, and so much of Earth. The coming storm would test humanity in ways they could not yet understand. The story of Earth's survival was far from over. This was just the beginning of a new chapter. With the galaxy's eyes now on Earth, Jake and his team would lead humanity into a new era, one where Earth was not just a target to be conquered, but a leader among the stars. In the quiet of the night, with the stars twinkling above, Jake found himself standing once again at the memorial. The names of those who had fallen still echoed in his heart, but now there was a glimmer of hope that had never been there before. Earth had proven its strength, and that was something no alien empire could take away. The war was over, but the future was open, full of possibilities, and ready for humanity to take its place among the stars. As the camera zoomed out, the glowing lights of Earth could be seen shining brightly, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had once believed humanity was weak. Now, the galaxy knew better. Humanity had proven that it could rise from the ashes and defeat any foe. Earth stood tall, not just as a symbol of strength, but as a symbol of the endless potential that lay within humanity. The galaxy had trembled before Earth, but now it would know: humanity was here to stay.